It's almost like
Okay, Mayor.
the quiet before the storm or something. All right, 7 o'clock. Let me call the City Council meeting to order, February 26th, 7 p.m. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to ask that the press and public are here and have been notified. I'm going to ask everybody please rise for an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, Heavenly Father, we gather this evening to serve the city in your name. We strive to do your will in everything we do. Thank you for allowing us to nurture our minds and our bodies while we live within your hands on this beautiful island. We have been truly blessed. As we emerge from our wet winter season, may the spring bring us closer to you.
Headquarters, all stations, stay alive for test.
Again, I ask you to keep safe all those that keep us safe. For it is in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we know it's officially
We must have started early because the test tones didn't come by until 30 seconds into this flight. Thank you all for coming. Next item on our agenda is reading of the journal of previous meetings. You have in your...
Don't we do the roll call?
Oh, we'll do the roll call. Thank you very much. All right.
Barb's here.
Councilmember Bergworth.
Here.
Councilmember Patelli.
Here.
Councilmember Buchanan.
Here.
Councilmember Carroll.
Yeah.
Councilmember Baltus.
Here.
Councilmember Stone.
Here.
Councilmember Thomas.
Here.
Councilmember Ward.
Here.
Mayor Cronin.
Present.
Administrator Tucker.
Here.
And Attorney Halverson.
Here.
Thank you all. We found your red pen, didn't we? All right, now we're on to the reading of journals of previous meetings. You have your regular meeting minutes of January 22nd and the special meeting minutes of February 5th. We have a motion to approve or amend?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve.
If I could,
Please.
is Councilman Stoner in the house?
Oh, it is. With the one change.
January 22nd. We could correct that.
Is that Freudian? Or All right.
No
With that
comment.
amendment,
comment.
all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None heard? Motion carries. Thank you all. We're up to citizens' comments. Today, we're going to have some citizens speak to us, but first, we're going to have Tom Bradford, who's representing the Battery to the Beach, come forward, talk to us about plans that they have that involves the island and has to do with biking. So, Tom, please come up to the microphone. For the record, just give us your name and address so Marie's happy at the end of the day.
My name is Tom Bradford. I'm the director of Charleston Moves, which is a bicycle and pedestrian advocacy group. My home is in downtown Charleston at 18 State Street, but I'm very happy to be here and speak to all of you about the Battery to Beach route. As the mayor knows, I came out here about 2 years ago to first acquaint him with the concept of the Battery to Beach route, and since that time, we've gotten substantial traction. We've published a study that shows $40 million annually in tourism benefits to the region and substantial benefits in terms of health care cost reductions, better health and happiness for a lot of people. There was some talk before about the distinction between the spandex, the bike jock crowd and everybody else. I think I used to be a bike jock, but I'm a little bit too old to be a bike jock anymore, so I've kind of retired my spandex. And frankly, this concept is not for the spandex crowd. This is for our communities. This is for the moms and dads and eventually kids, we hope, when it's made safe enough. It's for people who are traveling, 3 blocks to the store or a mile to the beach, or even you guys could eventually ride your bikes to the council meeting. I think in 10 years from now, we'll look back and say we're really glad that we did this. As you know, we have an intergovernmental working group. Doug is involved in that. About 15 representatives of 6 municipalities, the county, SCDOT. It's chaired by Councilwoman Colleen Condon. And I have to pinch myself sometimes about how aggressively this group, and happily this group, is tackling this challenge. They all seem to get it. Everybody, all the mayors are supporting it, and they're making great progress. Very recently, we got a pledge of up to $100,000 to help out with signage. I've already been in touch with Ms. Tucker about that. We hope to be able to dispense some money to Isle of Palms to help out with that as well. I will also say that at the other extremity, out here in Folly Beach, I was out there a few weeks ago. They're delighted about this because they hope that the Battery to Beach route brings another class of people to their beach. They hope that some of the people in spandex and otherwise take the place of some of the people who are dragging out the beer coolers and so forth, and they're really looking forward to it. They, too, may be among, another place where there will be some of the first signs on the Battery to Beach route. So the Intergovernmental Working Group is working now to finalize the route. There are some places where there's a bit of a jump ball, and frankly, over time, as roads improve and things are rethought, this route may be rethought. But we hope that we're going to see signs on the Battery to Beach route, perhaps here in Isle of Palms, and the other end at Folly Beach this summer, if we're lucky. So with that, I'll open up. Anybody have any questions?
Well, we met, I can't remember, Douglas, 2 months ago? A month and a half ago? Something with Jeff Davis, who's with the Citadel, but is doing the technical aspects of a lot of this. And we had proposed, instead of having the route end at our county park,
yes,
which of course right across the way, take it all the way up to the marina.
Yes.
I don't know if that's gotten any traction in the working group. I'm looking at Douglas. I'm not sure who's I'm addressing this to.
Well, the working group is there for that reason. If a municipality has a great idea about what it would prefer, it takes it to that group, and I'm sure it gets traction there. So what I said to the working group, I said, first of all, I'm not a public official. I'm an advocate. And as an advocate, I don't possess either the power or the skills to do what needs to be done. But if you agree with us, you'll pitch in and help us. And in fact, that's what they're doing. And they're making the decisions. There's a subcommittee now working on a whole plan for signage. How many signs do there have to be in a mile? What happens at odd intersections? What kind of wayfinding does there have to be? They're really diligently working on this, and these are traffic engineers with signage experience. Now we have a designer working on a better. The Intergovernmental Group has concluded that this is not as legible for motorists and bicyclists underway as it may have been good for getting the campaign started. But when it comes to making signs and having everybody understand quickly, this may not work as well as it should. So we have a designer that we're paying to come up with a better, simpler, more understandable symbol that would be universal along the whole route.
Well, I'm not sure if everybody's aware, the route takes you, coming from Sullivan's Island, it'll route you back onto Ocean,
yes,
getting off Palm as quickly as possible, right now up to the county park. And our intention was taking it out to the marina, taking it on Waterway, to try and get as many people off of Palm Boulevard, which is, to us, the most dangerous stretch we have for bikers, whether they be in spandex or casual biking.
Right.
And so as much as we can do, we're really trying to improve the biking environment for everybody that visits the island, whether they're here for a week-long stay or just coming over for a day's visit.
Right.
It's important for us to keep them safe as well as
and
well-directed.
We appreciate that, and I think your citizens probably appreciate that, and I think their children are going to appreciate that, and I think the city will be better off for it when it's done.
Other questions, Michael?
Yeah, I think this is a great project. I'm concerned about the infrastructure because a lot of the bicyclists right now, they come down Palm, they take Palm all the way into the north end of the island, turn around and come back out, and we don't have the roads right now, and we've been trying to encourage bicyclists to go to Waterway. They don't do it. In reality, it's a great idea because it's a much quieter road. But in reality, we have a safety issue on the island, and by increasing the bikes, and I love my bike. I ride my bike all over the island. But we need help from your group as far as encouraging the county and DOT to upgrade our infrastructure to be able to support this.
We're happy to do that, and again, the forum for that is where all those public officials are sitting together, sharing ideas and sharing complaints and concerns. That's, Jim Armstrong and Kurt Taylor have representatives in that, Roadwise is there, they know. And if you all come to me and say we're not getting enough audience, enough traction with those guys in that group, I'll call them for whatever it's worth. We have an ongoing dialogue with them, and I think what this is going to give rise to is a better and better dialogue, and as we come out of the economic doldrums, maybe we can get some real improvements on the roads. I'll also say that when the signs go up on the Battery to Beach route, I think maybe some people in spandex who go up and turn around are going to use it. I think those people will always ride their bikes where they want to ride and how they want to ride. Again, we don't necessarily have those people in mind when we put this route here. This is for your citizens. This is for tourists. This is for moms and dads. This is for kids going to school. We won't reject anybody, but we're just trying to make it possible for everybody to live a more active lifestyle where you don't have to get behind the wheel of a car to go a mile or two.
Mr. Mayor, what is the anticipated timing for this?
Well, it is what it is. This is a process that I must say shows signs of some good speed, some good velocity now that we have this intergovernmental working group. And it was always my hope that once we got a few signs out in one or two municipalities, that the next municipality down the road would say, well, we better get some too, so that there would be a sort of a pile-on effect. And I was sort of unprepared for the enthusiasm that I saw when we asked all these public officials to get together. I was unprepared for a guy to walk up to me and say, here's $100,000 for signs. So it is picking up velocity, but I'd be crazy to tell you when it's going to be done. In fact, I think in many respects this is going to be an ongoing process where we'll put some bike lanes, paint some bike lanes on the street. Then 10 years from now, if that street is improved and we can actually separate the bike lane from the actual roadway, and we have the dough to do it at that time, we'll do it. But again, I think that's going to be up to every one of the municipalities who are participating in this thing to do your best to make it as really cool as possible.
Good.
Great.
Other questions or concerns at this point?
I just want to make a couple of comments. First of all, for the benefit of our men in uniform who just arrived, we're discussing bike paths. So that should be a subject that would interest you. I just wanted to clarify, aren't you looking for us to approve in some way some sort of solidarity for the path, the initial path that you've identified, which for everybody's information and for the audience's information would be to go down Charleston, cut over at 4th Avenue onto Ocean Boulevard, proceed down Ocean to 14th Avenue, and then down 21st Avenue to Waterway, all the way down Waterway and terminate at the marina. So my understanding was you were looking for some sort of endorsement, because when you go to SCDOT and ask for an encroachment permit for those signs, they're likely going to come back to you and say, how does the local government feel about that? So you'll be stuck until you have either our approval or not.
No, I think that's right, and unlike a municipality, there's no template for exactly how this is supposed to work. And I think when I first came out and paid the mayor a visit, at the time really we had a concept that we wanted to get going with. At the time, there was not even a concept of this intergovernmental working group. Now there is, and now that, I suggest, is really the forum where a lot of this stuff gets addressed. You take your route suggestions to that intergovernmental working group, and SCDOT is there. The county is there. Your colleagues in other municipalities are there. You know what each other is doing, and I'm sort of, I'll have a very active interest in the route, obviously, but I'm not the boss of the route anymore. This intergovernmental working group, in a very sort of participatory way, is in charge of it. And I think anytime you have a concern, you tell Doug, he'll take it there, and it'll be properly adjudicated. And if it's not, and I can do something to help, I will.
Go ahead.
So the intention would be, first of all, to put up signs. And this would be on, for example, Ocean Boulevard. But there is no bike route on Ocean Boulevard. So they would just be using that street with no bike routes delineated.
No lanes.
No lanes.
That's again, that's up to you all. If Ocean Boulevard is not the appropriate place, then I would suggest that the signs not go up on Ocean Boulevard. If there's a better route, then it would be elsewhere.
Well, it seems like a natural route to me, but I just mean at the present, there are no bike lanes, so
Right.
instead of eventually lining it or something, there's no room to line it. They would have to be
No.
repaving
But
to make it wide enough.
But Ocean Boulevard, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, is really a very low-speed
Right.
Right.
local road. And as such, it is really ideal for multiple kinds of uses. It's not unusual to see people on bicycles out there now, whether they're in spandex or otherwise. So from that standpoint, I think it's probably ideal for the signs.
So Douglas is working with the team to, when the sign's designed, we know with DOT what the spacing needs to be, et cetera. That
Exactly.
He'll come to us through some forum we set up, one of the committees, or both committees, or all committees. And we'll get the appropriate actions taken
Yeah.
council to
Yeah.
move that.
Let me also just say one thing about Charleston Moves. It was founded 15 years ago as originally called the Charleston Bicycle Advocacy Group, and I think it was formed, well, I mean, it had some involvement with the town of Mount Pleasant and the design of Coleman Boulevard and the eventual appearance of bike lanes on Coleman Boulevard, but the big thing that the Charleston Bicycle Advocacy Group achieved was spearheading the drive to get the bike and pedestrian lane on the Ravenel Bridge. After they succeeded at doing that, and there were a lot of other organizations involved ultimately, after that success, I think the people of Charleston Bicycle Advocacy Group said, well, really, this is not just about bicycles. This is about the quality of our environment here. You know, how easy is it to be healthy and to enjoy oneself in the out of doors, in the beautiful low country. And so that stands as a real crown jewel now, with thousands of people using it all the time. The objective of this is to connect the dots and make it possible to sort of expand that wonderful attribute to the entire low country.
Does anybody have, at this point, with knowing what you know, does anybody have an objection to the route that we've just discussed, down to Charleston, over to Ocean to the county park, over to 21st and out Waterway? Anybody have any concerns with that? Of course, that'd be a return route too, but I mean, it's not. I'm not looking for approval.
This is more of a conceptual.
Yeah, this is all conceptual.
I'd like to make a motion as a conceptual plan that I think is a great idea and that we ought to move forward with the bike route. here in Island Palms. I think we're all in favor of getting people out on bicycles. Bicycle corrals for parking bicycles. Have y'all thought about, placement of bicycles at the end and destinations? And
Well,
It's a long motion. I second your motion.
listen, bike corrals, bike racks are great. We're hoping to start a little side office in our organization which promotes bicycle-friendly businesses, and there's a whole handbook about how you do that. Again, what we're talking about here is not something that's going to be not a route one day and all of a sudden a completed route the next day. We're talking about sort of a slow change of attitude toward things like this, and improvements as we go forward.
as a concept, my motion is a very short one, that
Okay.
in concept, we approve this.
And we heard the
And I
second.
second that.
Any other discussion on Jimmy's motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard, okay.
One other
You got
quick
another
thing, and that is, you mentioned advocacy on our behalf with transportation sales tax folks, CTC, and the county. For 2 years in a row, the city has made a priority request to those entities for regulation bike paths on both sides of the Palm Boulevard from Breach Inlet to 57th Avenue. And we have not received any funding. We'll be turning in an application tomorrow that also includes that request, although narrows it to at least the surveying to determine if it's possible to put regulation bike paths on both sides of Palm Boulevard from Breach Inlet to 57th Avenue. So that'd be the full length. So anything that your group can do to help advocate for that, we would appreciate.
I'd be happy to submit a letter in support of that application.
That'd be great.
At this point, we haven't done the survey work. We don't know how much it's going to cost. We don't know where any money comes from. So anything we can get is moving us forward from where we are today.
We have a very
news.
good dialogue with the people at the county, and we're talking about some bigger concepts, and we're constantly in touch with them. If we can ever be of any help, I'm not claiming that they necessarily will always listen to us, but if we can be of support, we'd be happy to.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. You didn't bike out here, did you? It's dark now. Okay. All right, still in citizens' comments, I have a note here that Leola would like to address us. So.
Thank you.
Not quite as active as I used to be.
We all can say that.
Looking good, though.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I did not get to the public hearing on that newly acquired parcel of land, so I'm here to speak on it with many thanks for letting me do so. I'm sorry I couldn't get to the public hearing. In the interim time, I would take bets that all of you have already decided that you want to keep that space just as it is. I may be wrong, and if I'm wrong, you'll act accordingly. Incidentally, I can't call that site a park, and I really can't call it what I see in press releases, Live Oak Park, because I have no information as to how it got named or even designated as a park. So I just don't call it that. It's still a piece of land that we bought. That's all. Now, if there's a chance that some of you have not decided how to treat this parcel, hopefully I can help you by making the following point. It's my guesstimation that at least 3/4 of our population, as well as our visitors, live or visit on the northeastern portion of our treasured island. And that represents a huge number of vehicles. And then that number grows because of all the servicing that needs to be done for all those residents and visitors. So many vehicles come that way. When they wish to leave the island, each of those vehicles has only one route to follow from the intersection of Palm Boulevard and 21st Avenue. That route, as you know, takes each vehicle right past that small stretch of Palm Boulevard where our protected green space parcel sits. Therefore, logic tells me that there should not be access to this parcel. It should remain protected green space. It's scary enough to think of the number of tractor trailers that will be crossing Palm Boulevard to deliver their goods to our enlarged shopping center, at a location, mind you, where the right-hand lane of Palm Boulevard disappears to one lane. It's two as it starts out from the connector, but becomes one to go around the corner. Then there's the subject of ingress and egress from the shopping center, which is really another topic of discussion that hopefully is going to be addressed by all of the appropriate committees of council. But an observation I've made is that every vehicle leaving the shopping center by turning left on Palm Boulevard, leaving the shopping center and turning left on Palm, is taking a huge risk due to the traffic coming off of the connector. I hope that can be addressed. And by the way, although I don't get around much anymore, I recall at least 2 incidents in the past where I saw a tractor trailer parked on Palm Boulevard in the middle of the road. Obviously, that should never take place. I didn't call the police and say, hey, come get them. So I don't know if the police even knew they were doing that, but if it happens, it certainly should be violently prohibited. That's all I can say. One of those 2 incidents was a tractor trailer right here in front of City Hall. Unbelievable. You just never know what might happen. Anyhow, enough said, but I thank you for listening. I got it all off my chest.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And we've had no discussion on what to do with that lot. We'll be dealing with that and naming it, et cetera. For those who weren't able to attend, and Leola being one, we did have a public information session on the lot and what our plans could be and what to do with the green space that's down there. We've had no discussion among council, certainly not within committees or council, as far as what to do with it at this point, nor have we come up with a name for it. We had to put a name on it in order to apply. That's how that name got thrown in there. And we have to have a name because we're required to have a sign. So we can put almost anything on it we want, but we've not had that discussion. But the naming of the area, the lot, the property, I'll use your term, is open for input from anybody that wishes to provide us with a suggestion of what to name it. So that'll be open for at least a few more weeks. If anybody out in the listening audience in TV land or here tonight has a suggestion on what they would like to call that acre of green space, we'll be happy to take suggestions. So, thank you. Any other citizens' comments before we move on?
Jim Owens.
Jim Owens? Oops. Jim Rise jumped you.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. 2 Jims.
Good evening. My name is James Paul Rye, R-A-I-H. I live at 3904 Cameron Boulevard. I've been active in, on, or around the island since 1984. I've served 3 or 4 years on the Rural Property Advisory Committee, 4 years on the Planning Commission, 30 days on the Ad Hoc Farmers Market, 3 terms as past president of the Isle of Palms Exchange Club, and by the virtue of my father's service in the United States Air Force, I'm an auxiliary member of the Isle of Palms VFW. So that being said, I am very active in the community and feel blessed to live here. So I think that the city ought to consider amending their dog owner tag ordinance. We just had a very successful doggy day at the rec center, and it was professional and flawless, as it's been for a number of years. And my wife always goes down there and gets her dog the shots and the tags. Well, my dog got out a month before that, and we received a $150 ticket because we had an expired Isle of Palms owner's dog tag. So I would consider the council amending the ordinance to correspond, the expiration of the tag to correspond with Doggy Day, where it's very convenient to get dog tags. So just by way of information, if you would take that under consideration, if that makes any sense to you. I'm glad to see that the water tower is going to stay. I've been around long enough to maybe shed some light on the bike path problem on Palm Boulevard. The problem is we have too many curb cuts. Was on the planning commission. We crossed that bridge many a times, and we've got residents that have put multiple curb cuts on their property. We have too many curb cuts. So I think that's what you're going to find out through SCDOT unless things have changed. We probably have 50-foot right-of-way from the pavement on both sides of Palm Boulevard. The real estate's not the problem. Safety is not the problem because there's plenty of room. So I wish you the best on your application for probably the 10th time. But I know your time is valuable, so I put that out by just a public comment. So,
Okay.
And just a couple other quick things. I think Jimmy Ward made a good comment in the minutes that he'd like to see citizens' approval with the naming of the park that was just mentioned. So I'm glad to see that was in the minutes. I think that's a very good comment in the minutes. I'd like to congratulate Linda Tucker for being the right person for the right job at the right time. That's on City Council, January 22nd, 2013, page 5 of 7. I'd also like to congratulate City Council for their special City Council meeting February 5, 2013, that according to my calculations, you're only in executive session for 9 minutes. I think that that's excellent. There's no sense for us being dismissed to the hallway any longer than is absolutely necessary. So I congratulate you in limiting your time to 9-minute executive session. As far as I'll just make one more comment. I could go on, but I'm sure that my 30 seconds. Well, I don't think there was a clock to start these comments, so I think, to be fair, everybody was unlimited. So I can talk for an hour if you'd like me to, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
At the intersection of Cameron and 41st, you guys closed off that road. It's now open again. People are driving through there. If you would please fix it so people aren't driving through there.
Vehicular traffic or just golf carts?
You brought a truck through there. Oh, they tractor trailer.
Okay. Jimmy?
Yes,
You have to come
please.
up. Right.
Thank you. I'm Jim Owens, 2805 Palm Boulevard. I, too, have a plethora of comments, but I will not do that tonight. I am here just to talk about item 4B on the agenda, the recycle bin, and I feel like Councilman Loftus and I are Piggly Wiggly with a shopping cart trying to find a committee that will recommend these carts be pulled back in. The reason there's one in front of my house, and will continue to be until you guys make it and ladies make a decision, is to stop the trash. Since high season last year, I have not picked up one beer can, one beer bottle, one Coke bottle, one water bottle, period. If it's not picked up, then Donnie's staff is going to have to manually pick it up because people will drop it on the easement, and they will not recross the street once they have left the beach and put it in the yellow can, which is picked up by Mr. Shump. So maybe this ought to, instead of being in public safety, I don't understand where there's a safety issue here, maybe it ought to be in Ways and Means, because every time Mr. Shump dumps his bucket, it costs you guys and me $8. And whereas if it's dumped in my recycle bin, I just save the city and the taxpayers of this island $8. So I know which way you guys are going to vote. and I will abide by whatever way you do recommend how we handle these recycle bins. But on a cost basis, I've done the city a job saving them money there. I have saved the police department from letting drunks leave this island. You would not believe how many people I've actually stopped in front of my house, deposited a 12-pack of beer, and I said, guys, ladies, I think you need to pull over. Let's find a designated driver. So it's helped in that effect as well. And on page 3A, it says staff acknowledges that obstructions in the right-of-way is a serious problem on the island. I agree with that. And I agree that, Mr. Mayor, I think you have the authority 1 mile either direction as the crow flies from the parking lots to eliminate parking on Palm Boulevard, and I wish you would take that action, sir. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Other comments from citizens? Anybody wishing to address us? We obviously have a troop with us tonight. You going to spend the rest of the night here with us? Okay. Let's move on. No other comments. We're going to move on to the standing committees and the reports. We're up to the reports on the Ways and Means Committee. I'll give that report. We met on February 19th. Members were in attendance. We heard from our treasurer, who reported that against a target through the end of January, our target would be 58% of our revenue, and we're virtually on target, running at 56%, and our expenditures are running at 52%. So we're well within the striking distance of being clearly on target. We've received a substantial amount of property tax payment in the past month, which is good news because last year they were tardy remitting it to us, and so now our cash balance has improved to a point where we can sustain ourselves. And in fact, our cash at the end of the period was $2.5 million in our general fund, which is 30% of our general fund expenses, which is just on target where we need to be. We talked about our tourism funds, and our municipal accommodations tax year to date is 9% ahead of where we were prior years. We received our first payment from the Charleston County from their accommodations tax collection, and it was $180,000. That's up from roughly $170,000 in the prior year. Our hospitality tax, as it proceeds, shows a $1,345 difference as a result of having lost some businesses on the island for the month from the prior year. So I think we'll be able to recover and do well working through that. I did report that the city administrator myself had met with the Department of Revenue, the director of the Department of Revenue, William Bloom, in Columbia, and his staff, because we've had some serious problems in the Charleston area. We took the lead, since we were in Columbia, to meet with him and point out some deficiencies that the Department of Revenue has in remitting to all the municipalities in the Charleston area the appropriate amount of accommodations tax which the state collects. They're supposed to be passing it back to the municipalities. They've been, frankly, sending it to the county, and the county doesn't know what to do with it. The county, for a while, was sending it back to the state. So you can see this ping-pong ball bouncing back and forth. In the meantime, those monies were due to flow to the municipality, City of Charleston, ourselves, North Charleston, elsewhere. He has been in office since the first of the year, and he's inundated with all sorts of opportunities, notwithstanding the hacking problem that's the resident of the Department of Revenue. But he has agreed to look into it and get back to us post haste, 2 to 3 weeks. I'm expecting maybe 6 to 8 weeks. We'll hear something. But in either case, those monies are now still sitting at the county. They're not returning them. They're holding them for disposition, so we won't lose them. Hopefully the state can figure out what they've been doing wrong from an accounting standpoint and be able to distribute them to us in the future in a timely fashion. In addition, while we're there, we talked about online travel companies, which are now reporting to the state and to the county and submitting funds. These are Travelocity and Priceline, et cetera. Folks like that have an obligation to pay tax to the state and counties and to the municipalities as well. And they've started to over the last 6 months. I would say at this point it's a hit and miss proposition, and we're putting, our treasurer is putting some work together to feed some information to both the county and the state to tell them what's going on, bridging those two reports that we get, again, from the state and from the county. So that'll be a work in process that may take the rest of this year to get straightened out, frankly. We had a report on our projects, and our project's status was relatively unchanged with few funds expended. We did clean up the shore beach replenishment activity and have recognized that we still have $639,000 available to spend for future projects. That's good news in the event we have any other shoal realignment or activities that have to go on. We had an update on beach preservation, and this is frankly a long subject. The subject starts at the federal government level with Folly Beach. Everybody here should know that Folly Beach is in distress, having serious erosion across their beachfront. County Park has been closed, still closed, has basically disappeared. The federal government, Corps of Engineers, has an obligation to renourish that beach. However, they don't have any money. So the beach is continuing to be eroded. There is properties with water under the properties. And Tim Goodwin, the mayor of Folly Beach, is in Washington right now trying to drum up support within the Corps to try and budget it in their next fiscal year cycle. So they're at least a year and a half, 2 years away from having any remediation work done down there. So you can't look to the federal government for any help. It also surfaced to our attention in the past series of months. This is all the beach communities in Charleston realizing that the state, through action of the legislature, has put a proviso in effect that says the state of South Carolina, will provide no funding for maintaining beaches and preserving beaches. They will improve, they'll allow accesses to be improved, but they will spend no money on maintaining beaches. So they don't mind, they want to have people get to the beach, but they don't care if there's a beach there when they get there, which is kind of awkward, frankly. So if the federal government's not interested in acting Folly Beach initiative, the state here has not taken up any initiative. We looked amongst ourselves as to what could be done, and it turns out that within the state and within this county, all the beach communities charge less than the city of Charleston and the city of North Charleston in their accommodations taxing. And so a legislator, Mike Sotilli, who's our representative, has penned legislation, has 25 representatives in the House supporting that legislation to allow beach communities to enact a 1% beach preservation fee, which would be 1% on accommodations. If that moves through the House, and it's in the Ways and Means Committee now, successfully, then it will move to the Senate, where Chip Campson and Paul Thurman, two local senators, are willing to carry it on through the Senate. All of those have various minefields throughout the political intrigue, but to Mike's credit, he has both the Republican and Democrats, both beachfront representatives, Midlands representatives, and upstate representatives signed on to his piece of legislation. So hopefully that moves forward, and then it's left for each community to decide whether they wish to enact that or not. That is ongoing as we speak. So that was the report on that. Then we moved on to award of a contract. I'll make a motion now to award a contract to Henley Construction in the amount of $61,300 for the construction of a beach access at Pavilion Drive and Ocean Boulevard. This was a public bid, and Henley was the lowest bid provider at the time. So,
second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion on the beach access? Kimmy?
How much is in the budget for this project?
It was budgeted $80,000.
Thank you.
So we have an $80,000 budget, and expenditure of $61,300 is proposed. Any other discussion? Unheard? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Where am I going here? We had an award proposal to change the existing contract with Stantec in the amount of $12,450. This is for two principal areas. One is for the detailed design effort on the signage. We have a signage program in addition to the biking. We're trying to redo our signage and wayfinding on the island to allow people to find our parking in the front beach area easier and with less disruption. To put those signage in place and to supervise the engineering thereof and document the proposal. So I'll make a motion. Oh, in addition, there was another $2,750 for park or the property for signage, as well as for this building, which hasn't had a sign on it for a couple of years now, so people don't know where the court is, let alone City Hall. So I'll make a motion that we award change order to Stantec for $12,450.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion?
The budget.
The budget.
This $12,450 is additional money added to the project. Emily's actually here and prepared to discuss those things. I think at the last meeting when we discussed this, we indicated to you all that we were preparing a schedule for you for the March meetings going forward so that you could see a layout of these expenses for wayfinding and also beach access parking. I think initially we had $52,000 identified in the total budget. So with that,
We did, and this project is a little bit difficult in terms of the budget because it was an initiative started after the budget was approved, and so when council directed staff to start with the wayfinding, we looked in the budget for monies that we could identify to put towards this project, but the actual approved budget had no official thing for this initiative. So we were able to identify $52,000 in the current budget to point in this direction, and so this final piece takes us a little bit over that $52,000 that we had identified early on. Live Oak Park, of course, tips that scale to some degree because we did not contemplate that either. So we were able to identify $52,000 in the budget, and we are actually, according to this schedule, which we'll distribute at Ways and Means, we were really just working on this at 6:30 tonight, we are $1,000 to the good in terms of what we were able to identify in the budget.
Which means it comes in under the budget.
It does, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
51.5. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion points? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
None heard. Thank you very much. We talked about the transportation sales tax priorities for the city. We have two. One is bike paths, and we have number one, which of course is to continue working on our drainage improvements in the area of 41st through, I guess we're now calling it 43rd through 52nd. Okay. So those two. Do we need to take action here, or do we take enough action?
We were acting on the prior action at Ways and Means.
So we're moving ahead. Okay. We discussed alternative business license due dates. We're going to hold on that discussion until the next Ways and Means Committee meeting to see if there isn't some synergy that we can affect that helps both the businesses and keeps the city whole at the same time in changing our due dates accordingly. So, and then we got into the capital budgets and long-range capital planning for the city, and we're starting our budgeting cycle for fiscal year 2014. It's only February 2013, but we're into the budgeting for next year. So that is ongoing. And then we had a general discussion and going to be looking at whether there's a cost-effective way of using iPads at City Council in lieu of all this paper that we seem to be shuffling up here. We know that County Council uses those tools.
Or some form of tablet.
Or some form of tablet. Not necessarily, I shouldn't be so brand specific. Some tablet, and see if that's a cost savings and improvement in efficiency for a lot of us. I'm certain the tree community would appreciate that too. But that's will be ongoing dialogue, and we'll get more data on that as we proceed on. So that's a good one. So that's the report from Ways and Means.
I know you want to emphasize the change in meeting date.
Yes.
For Ways and Means.
Okay.
For March.
You know, because you gave me the note to do that. Our date has moved from March 19th, because there'll be an election on March 19th. We're going to have it on Wednesday, March 20th, 5:45, here in Council Chambers. So everybody's welcome. You guys can come back if you want and spend another evening with us, if you would. So, any other questions from Ways and Means? Let's move on to public safety, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Safety Committee met Tuesday, February 12th. Under old business, we discussed and considered extending the hours for the parking kiosks. We came to the conclusion that we would not do that. The local businesses benefit from the local people being able to come down to the Front Beach area after 6 o'clock and utilize the businesses and not have to pay to park. We talked about the change order to Stantec, which the mayor covered in the Ways and Means Committee meeting. Under new business, we discussed, I'm going to say, in here we have the discussion of laser use interfering with search and rescue. This has become a problem nationwide, not so bad here right now, but please be aware of it. If you are anywhere, have a laser, please do not point that laser at any rescue vehicles. It will temporarily blind the pilot, the truck operator, whoever, and could cause serious harm or result in a rescue mission going unfilled. We talked about the Beach to Battery route. You've heard about that already. I won't go into it. We reported on the stop control at 5th and Carolina Avenue. A study was done to ensure that the stop signs were properly placed in the direction in which they needed to be, and the SCDOT concurred that yes, indeed, what they determined years ago still stands, and those signs will not change. We had a consideration of the request for the from the Windjammer for the volleyball events. They've been doing this for years. This is for the teenagers, and we moved to approve the volleyball leagues at the Windjammer. And Linda, I don't know if we need
we do need a motion to approve this as a city-sponsored event.
Make this to make a...
Second.
All right.
In line with the dates you've got on your notes, we have a motion to approve this as a city-sponsored event. And a second. Is there any discussion on this? It worked very well last year. We've had no complaints, and the kids got a lot of exercise, and you got a little grayer, Bobby. But
Mr. Mayor, I apologize for using the word spandex when I walked in.
Well, I know where it started. I can't hide. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. We also discussed the transportation sales tax, which we pointed in the direction of drainage and bike paths and Ways and Means. We also discussed under that, in that portion of the meeting, discussion of the right-of-way encroachment related to recycle bins. I know we've had the small bins for years. Now we've got the larger bins that are very blue, very big, very obvious. The reason this came to public safety is the Public Works Department looked at this and said, well, we probably need to let public safety take a look at it because we've been talking about other encroachments in right-of-way on the island. And we see public safety saw that as probably two entirely different right-of-way encroachments, although probably legally there's no difference. But we do have an ordinance relating to our green trash cans. And we just thought it would make sense to include the recycle bins in that. So I would like to make a motion to amend the existing ordinance related to rollout carts to include recycling bins.
Second.
All right, motion and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Jimmy?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, recycling is a voluntary program. We don't have to do it, but the people who recycle are taking weight, tonnage, papers, glass off the cost of the city. And it just seems like if we make another law or addition to the current law, we're going to almost deter some people from voluntarily recycling. I just don't think it's a good move. I think it's less government on this kind of thing. It's just not a good time to do it.
Okay. Any other comments, Jimmy?
I think it's environmentally and fiscally irresponsible. I don't think it's a good move.
Barbara?
Well, it's a huge garbage can. You could argue that because of the recycling cans, people need less green cans. Certainly in my household, that's the case. It's obtrusive, and if you have to take your green garbage can out of the road, why shouldn't you have to take your blue one out? Should we get rid of the green garbage can ordinance? Because that's government too. I mean, most people follow the rules. Most people, when they realize it is the rule, will follow it. And I personally don't want to see blue cans on my whole street all week, and that's the issue. So you can't.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I see this partially as being education to our residents and renters. I know I've visited with many folks who rented on the island, family members and close friends. I've also rented at other locations. One of the first things those people do is look for a recycle bin. And I think they're going to use the recycle bins. We just need to make sure that they know when to bring them in and bring them out. And I'm not saying it's a perfect world. We still got people that don't understand what they're supposed to be doing with the green ones. We look at that every month. But I think we get the sort of folks out here that are more tuned to the environment and it would be more apt to use the recycling bins and if you want to say, deal with them and getting them in and out.
Okay. Other comments, Michael?
Well, first of all, we have scouts in the audience. I'm sure you're all favor recycling, right, folks? I really look at recycling in the bins as really, it's an extension of trash. We all carry cell phones now. It's a change of communication. It's a matter of change, and what this is change. It is a good thing for the environment. It keeps our tax dollars down, and I really count on people to do the right thing. And a handful of people don't do the right thing for different reasons. Some are lazy, some are forgetful or whatever, but as far as keeping this island beautiful, we live in a great place and we're very fortunate to be here, and I think we need to be good caretakers of our island, and this is part of being a good caretaker and doing the right thing.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Mayor.
Sandy?
The two issues come to mind for me on this. I hate to punish our residents or anyone else for doing the right thing, and just because they might leave a can out. I wish that we could do something more along the lines of a warning rather than a fine. The second thing is that I think a fine discourages people from recycling, and those that might be fined might just stop, and I don't want to discourage recycling. And I know that will be the case in some of the rental properties if they're fined enough. Most of them have a service now that do it. It's the few residents, and if we could do something more along the lines to amend this so that it's a warning system, that gets an awful lot of people's attention, and they do take those things in. So I'm opposed to
Well, I believe the first action is a warning.
Is a warning. You get a warning.
They get a warning now, whether it be green or,
Get two or three
they
warnings.
don't, nobody gets a citation
Yes,
first
three.
bad off.
How many?
3.
3 times.
Mr. Mayor?
3 strikes.
Just to give some facts, in 2011, 117 warnings were given out for green cans, and not one citation was given out the entire year. So people, once they get the notice about this site, and that this is the law, and we're asking people to follow it, our public safety, our police department has not issued one citation for green cans in 2011. I can't speak for last year because I haven't seen the data for that. But so I don't think this is something that we beat people over the head with. But if someone is leaving their green can out for a long period of time, we're doing our job. The livability officers are following up on it and making sure that it's being taken in. So I think it's a good balance of telling people what we need to do without beating people up.
Okay. Brian.
Just one thing. Mr. Ray, this has come through my committee twice, and it has not moved forward. I think that's one of the reasons it went through public safety. was just to get this on the books. I didn't agree with it, the fact that it is a volunteer system. You're penalizing people for using volunteer system, and it discourages them from using it. After picking up my minutes on Friday, or my package on Friday, and driving home, and I saw it was on the agenda for tonight's meeting, it was kind of interesting. And this past week, our recycling day was a little off because of the holiday. So we actually had recycling on. Everybody was a little confused. Everybody was, didn't quite understand when the pickup was going to be. So it was picked up on Thursday, and I pick up my packet Friday afternoon. And as I'm driving home, I didn't see any recycling bins on the side of the road. So I turned around. I started at 21st Avenue and started my camera. Drove all the way up to 41st Avenue, down 41st, around Waterway, all the way back up Waterway, down to 21st again. Did not see a single recycling bin on the side of the road. And I'll make it available on my Twitter account at Ryan. You can follow me on Ryan Buchanan, and you guys can see that. It's interesting. People are following the rules. We do not have a problem with this, especially a volunteer program like this. If we did have a problem with it, we have an ordinance on our books. I don't know, it's for collection that addresses that. You cannot have obstructions in the rights of way, and it's under Section 3-1 of our city code. And as with anything, I mean, the police officers have discretion in which ordinances they can. They enforce. They don't write everybody over that's doing 35 over the speed. Doing 5 miles over the speed limit, but they have discretion. They can use that discretion, and we have ordinances on our books that they're allowed to use discretion for that. If there's a problem, they can utilize the ordinances that we already have. And I think we have something already in place.
Okay.
One last point, Mr. Mayor. When I was on Public Works, we talked about this before, and I thought we were going to talk to Charleston County Recycling about better education, and they were going to have some movement towards that. Whatever happened to that?
We did. We had multiple conversations with them, and they have done a few things. I don't know that they've done enough, but they did make some efforts toward better public education for voluntary compliance and paying attention to when recycling day is and that sort of thing. So they were very interested, very committed to trying to do something.
Okay. All right, we have a motion. No other discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
You want to give me hands?
Nay.
Nay. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, motion carries. Thank you.
I'm sorry. You need to pay attention here. We discussed the fire department and police department's capital budgets.
You're welcome. I'll come back.
Thank you all for coming.
Somebody get a badge?
We also were covered on the departmental reports. Some highlights of the fire department report was we had responded to a mutual aid fire on Rifle Range Road in Owendaw. Extracted 3 people from a condominium complex in Wild Dunes on January 12th, and I'm imagining that was from an elevator.
Let's hope.
In January, personnel responded to 9 calls, 7 of which were EMS calls. In the month, the department had an expenditure of over $2,000 for brakes on the big tower truck. Every once in a while, we get a little higher one, and the chief likes to make us aware of that. Out of the police department report, Captain Ussery stated that burglaries continue to be a problem in the island. 4 televisions were taken from residents on the north end of the island. 6 televisions were stolen from an unlocked residence on Ocean Boulevard. iPads and other electronics were stolen from unlocked vehicles. And I'd like to point out that the key word in that is unlocked. please lock your homes, lock your vehicles. Also, Captain announced the AAA of Carolinas had awarded the city one of the top 5 traffic-safe communities in South Carolina. And that's a reflection on all of our residents being the safe drivers you are. In January, dispatchers responded to 4 safe traffic communities in South Carolina. I'm sorry, I misspoke on that. We are one of the 5 safe traffic.
4,000 calls.
Dispatchers responded to 4,381 calls, an increase of 17% over January of last year. 429 traffic stops, which resulted in 78 tickets being issued. 5 noise complaints were received in January, with 2 warnings being issued. And I believe they had the first meet and greet last week for the businesses on the front beach. And under miscellaneous, there's going to be a Wounded Warrior ride Sunday, March 14th, which will be coming from Sullivan's Island, ending at the VFW. Should have a very low impact on the island. It'll be
If one revision on that date is the 13th.
13th.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No, ma'am, you're saying 13th. I can't hear you.
March 14th, which is a Thursday.
Thursday.
Oh, it's not a
Okay.
Sunday.
Not a Sunday.
I thought you were saying 13.
Sounds like
you were saying
13.
Thursday. Sorry.
Okay. This is going to consist of bikes on public roads from Breach Inlet to the VFW. They'll be going there for dinner. And although it's not a city-sponsored event, they will have, our police will escort those folks.
Is that motorcycles, as in scooters, or bicycles and pedal-ridden?
Pedals.
Oh, these are
Pedals. Bikes.
These are
Not big.
These are amputees and others from military. Okay.
Quite the deal.
So, and you're encouraged, if you have the time, to be either on the route, which of course will be a short route on the island, or at the VFW to greet and meet, just thank them for their service.
It's like dinner at 6:30, isn't it?
You don't get dinner, though.
No, I'm not. But they're going to be coming down Ocean Boulevard, so put your flag out. And,
Yes. When we talk about the Carolinas Children's Charities, I know you'll see the firemen out. What we have done in the past, and it has worked very well for us, because we're pretty much either at the beginning of the line or the end of the line, depending how you're getting out to the island. We do not do it on the same day as most of the other communities do it. We pick another weekend before that, weather permitting, and we've had excellent results. I think last year was the first year we did that, and it worked very well. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, March 12th.
Okay. Any questions for public safety? All right, let's move on to Public Works, please.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The Public Works Committee met at 5:30 Wednesday, February 6th. All committee members were present. We started off the meeting with the director giving his report for January. He stated that for January, we had been tracking Charleston County's cleaning of the vegetation from our island ditches. Our island is basically a series of ditches, which allows us the water to flow off our properties. But rather than leaving the vegetation lying in the ditches, the county has removed it, which is
good
common sense. Their personnel also cleaned the sidewalk at Breach Inlet from 10th to 13th Avenue, and stated that SCDOT was on the island correcting some of the deteriorating sidewalks throughout. Sure. Vehicle maintenance is up a little bit when you have to replace 4 tires. Those tires aren't cheap, but it'll end up working itself out in the long run. Garbage collection was down by 20 tons. A lot of we've seen that as per previous years. We attribute that to our recycling program that we have out here. A lot more debris is going in the recycling. But yard debris was up substantially, so it'd take a lot more off the island. Under old business, we had some discussion of their tree ordinance again. We have a resident whose tree and tree roots are undermining a piece of property, and we don't necessarily have a way to, correct that. So we have directed the administrator to take that to the Planning Commission, and they're going to work on a potential change for our tree ordinance. The director's recommendation was to exempt invasive species as defined in South Carolina Exotic Pest Council, and to formalize a process for a structural damage caused by tree roots. And that's what the Planning Commission is going to be tasked with. Councilman Loftus had mentioned the fact that the Planning Commission should keep the tree ordinance tight. We have a great tree ordinance out here, but we still need to be able to provide relief with residents who have those structural problems from these trees that continually grow. We have discussion of right-of-way enforcement of recycling bins that we just handled in our Public Safety Committee report. We also had update on the Public Works site reconfiguration. We have $44,000 earmarked for this project, and nothing is taken, no action has been taken so far. Part of that is because of the work that we're still waiting on SCE&G to work on in the vacant lot that we have from the previous building department. But we did go ahead and look at revamping the City Hall parking lot, and the staff is looking, we wanted approval to proceed with that. Among those are to replace the broken parking stops that have visible and protruding rebar, and improve the ingress-egress off Oak Harbor. That was put on delay because of encroachment permit at the time of the meeting. And the designer or the landscape architect found that the city was not in full compliance with our handicap access requirement. So we need to update that in order to be compliant with our handicap access. What we plan on doing is to clean and seal coat the parking lot, restripe the lot, grade out for installation and base, and removal of excess soil. That's in the handicap access area. Make that accessible, install the sidewalk, remove and replace the broken concrete bumpers, and install some sod on both sides of the driveway. I'll go ahead and make that a motion as well, that we proceed with the work coming out of the Public Works Committee, proceed with the work minus the ingress and egress on Oak Harbor.
Second.
Motion and seconded. We've had some improvements, as we said. We've got the encroachment permit now for access. So can we amend the motion to include the access, the egress, and I guess access and egress?
It's 2 driveways on
in
Oak
addition,
Harbor.
now that we have the encroachment permit?
Correct. At the time we did not have the now that we do have it, it would be a considerable cost savings because the contractor who's doing the work said they would do this work for free for us.
So I'd like to amend your motion to include those 2.
Correct.
Second.
All right, we have a motion seconded on the amendment. Discussion on the amendment?
I'm not in favor of 2 driveways. We have 1 driveway, the second driveway at the far end. I think that's a good idea because they'll give you, but I don't think we need 3 driveways for this piece of property. And eventually, the city's going to have to, there's nothing in life for free. Eventually, we're going to have to pay the maintenance on that driveway. So I just think, people use it as a parking, they use it as a driveway right now, and I'd much rather see some type of shrubbery or some kind of blockage to prevent that from happening, but I don't think we need 3 driveways on such a small piece of property.
Okay. Any other discussion? I mean, we hired an architect, and we've got his or her recommendation, which was to have 2. So.
DOT approved it.
And DOT has approved the encroachment. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye. That's the amendment.
Now the primary motion. Any discussion on the primary motion? Unheard. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
So, Mr. Mayor,
please.
If both the amendment and the primary motion pass unanimous?
Yes.
Okay.
Moving on, we had discussion of long-range capital plan and our capital budget for the Public Works. Some discussion on that. Basically, a quick overview of expenditures. that are being requested. We will continue to work on that through our budgeting process, both here, City Council, Ways and Means, and our committee again. We talked about the transportation sales tax that has already been discussed, and the CTC resurfacing. We talked about the roads. As you can tell, roads that are being resurfaced throughout the island. They're in progress. I think the rain has kind of halted them a little bit, but
some are finished,
yeah,
some are half done, some are just been cleared and waiting for work.
This week or last week, I think we were notified of our annual recycling for hazardous materials in our shred day, which will be March 16th from 9 to 12 in our city lots. So it's a great day to bring all your unused paints, computers, documents, and they'll shred it right there. Will they take tires? No tires. I had that question before. So anything that's been stacking up in your shed or garage that you need to get rid of, we can hopefully get rid of it there for you.
Last year we topped out on the document shredding.
Yep.
The vehicle was a big truck and he couldn't handle any more. I think tons, 5 tons of paper or more. I mean, some huge bunch.
So,
if I could, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to mention that there is now a dumpster for tires at the Owendot site, which is a lot closer than the V's Ferry site. So if you've got tires, you need to take them. If you're going up to Myrtle Beach, throw them in the trunk, put them on top of the car.
Why would you be going to Myrtle Beach?
Marty, I thought you just took your tires.
Would have to been for a meeting.
Marty, didn't you take your tires to Live Oak Park?
yes, I did. But anyhow, our next meeting date is scheduled for March 7th, 5:30 p.m.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Public Works? All right, let's move on to Recreation, please.
The Recreation Committee met on Monday, February 11th. Everyone was present. This past week, we're just concluding the registration for the spring adult basketball, men's soccer, co-ed soccer, and table tennis. So they'll be organizing the teams coming up in the next week or so. First pitch half rubber tournament is scheduled for March 23rd with a minimum of 12 teams expected to register. Basketball for all ages, 5 through 14, began in January at the Rec, and we have a total of 18 teams participating, which is great. We've been dealing with, over the last couple of months, the request from Sullivan's Island to be put on equal footing for times of registration, and Director Page and her staff have agreed that this is the thing to do. It's going to be island children included, and frankly, we need them to fill out our teams. Our population of children is not going to do it alone, so this is a win-win for everybody. One nice thing about a small town that Director Page mentioned, that she and her staff make every effort to accommodate residents. For instance, if a family that regularly participates in a rec department activity has not registered for a particular event, a staff member has called the family to ensure that they have the appointed time to register. So you got any calls, just in case?
Not recently, but when my kids were in the programs, I mean, they're a little bit older for that now. If they were not there, they call.
That's cool. I mean, that's the beauty of a small town, I think. Okay, we also are trying to organize and register a girls' team of softball. Obviously, we don't have enough to do a league, but if we do get a team, ages 9 to 11, with enough participants, Mount Pleasant will have us play in their league, which is great. January middle school dance had 350 young people. We all should go to the next one. I want to see 350 young people enjoying themselves at the Rec. The mayor could be the disco guy.
I could do that.
Okay. Doggy Day at the Rec, of course, was a success. A little bit wet. Registration, dog tags, doggy license tags was down about 20%. But I think, commenting on what Citizen Rye said, I think that's a great idea because it's just weird that you have the event in February when the tags are due in January. So I, right now, am not in compliance, and I will be going over tomorrow to pick up my tag. Easter egg hunt is coming up again. We have approximately 800 children participating, so that will be on Saturday, April 20th.
We're not going to have rain. No rain.
Easter egg hunt, March 30th.
March 30th.
I jumped ahead. Yeah, since Easter is that. But we have the annual yard sale April 20th, so if you want to get a space organized, call Norma Jean. We had one expense that weren't really planning on. When Berkeley Heating and Air did their biannual preventive maintenance, they found holes in the burner units of the gymnasium. Therefore, Assistant Zubin is assisting Director Page in writing an RFB for a new unit. The replacement unit is in the FY13 budget. And it's another great statistic. Despite being available and being used 353 hours in January, the Rec Department incurred no overtime. So that's fabulous. Again, we also started to review our capital budget, and we'll continue to do that. And our next meeting is on Monday, March 4th, in the conference room at 4 p.m.
Very good. Any questions for Rec? Personnel, Brian?
Just one, I mean, maybe not for rec, but with the director. I mean, with the dances getting as large as they were, it's getting up to a number where we started to have. Okay, good. 400 was that toggle. Correct. 400 was the toggle.
Fire issues.
No, just control. I mean, it was getting to be big. Good.
Keep them under control. All right, let's go on to personnel, please.
The Personnel Committee met on Thursday, February 7th. Present were Council Members Patelli, Stone, and Thomas, as well as Administrator Tucker, Assistant Zubin, and City Clerk Copeland. The President was duly informed of the meeting. The minutes of the meeting for January were unanimously approved. There were no citizens' comments or old business. The new business to be discussed was the capital budget, long-range capital plan for general government and the building department for FY14. Administrator Tucker explained that the FY14 was the first budget with an increase in the threshold of capital expenditures from $1,000 to $5,000. The items discussed were replace a generator at City Hall for $80,000, municipal and livability court signs for $5,000, replace a wooden welcome sign at the connector for $15,000, replace 2 message boards with possible computer controls for $35,000, and replace the HVAC equipment for council chambers for $5,000. Building department has no capital expenditures scheduled for FY14. Administrator Tucker acknowledged that the desire of council to eliminate debt in preparing these numbers. There was no miscellaneous business, and the next meeting will be held at 9 a.m. Thursday, March 7th in the conference room. The January safety sweepstakes winners are General Government Amy Lee, Police Department Jeff Swain, Public Works Joseph Ankrum, and Fire Department Mike Siapa.
Okay. Any questions for personnel?
Mr. Mayor, just for the record, that those expenditures for that the councilman had listed are suggested expenditures.
They're not definitely not correct.
Yeah, just so for the proposed.
They were discussed. Just the starting mark.
Yes.
Okay, real property, please.
Yes, real property met 5:30 Thursday, February 7th. All were in attendance. Councilman Loftus, Buchanan, and Stone. We rearranged the agenda to work on to hear a presentation from Steve Trainum of CSE, who has been doing the beach monitoring. He was also going to bring us up to speed with the request for additional beach nourishment projects above and beyond the permitted 3. We're going for 4. We're permitted.
We're asking for. We've used 1. One of those 2 has been.
We're asking for 1 more.
Correct.
And that hearing is
March 12th.
March 12th at 6 p.m. here at City Hall. So please come and speak favorably for our residents and citizens. Steve Trainum of Coastal Science Engineering, CSE, spoke extensively about the sand. Where is the sand? And it has moved since we did our project a couple of years ago. And to summarize, we have about 57% of our sand volume as of the last monitoring results, which were July. And after Sandy came through, that stoner guy, we may not have quite that much. The next monitoring will be
June, July
of 2013. So we'll get a better report. We have, Administrator Tucker, please jump in if I'm misspeaking, but we have reason to believe that we may be at the point where we may need to seriously consider a nourishment project, perhaps scraping some sand and replenishing some areas. We do want to wait as long as possible because we don't have but one more renourishment project within our permit, which expires in 2016, so March, I believe. So we really want to be as conservative as possible with or without this other request for another additional renourishment. So we're watching. We discussed Breach Inlet, what's going on at Breach Inlet, and the need to monitor it. It is Mr. Trainum's opinion that it will heal over time. They are going to watch it. We talked, and did we make a motion?
No.
We talked about doing some measurement, but we did not make that motion or move forward on that action. So that pretty much summarizes the beach presentation. Is there anything you would like to add to that, Linda? No.
Well, the only the intent is to wait till there's a shoal that's moving closer and closer to the beach.
Yes.
The intent is when it attaches, that'll be the source from which we can go and harvest the sand. Hopefully we can wait till it attaches. Reading, I haven't talked to Stephen, but reading the notes, it says it's like 600 feet offshore, 600 feet. It's not that far.
Right.
Particularly since his report also said it moved 700 feet in the last year between 11 June and 11 or July 12. So it moved 700 feet in 1 year. I don't know how, let's say it moves 600-700 feet again. This time next year we'll have.
As it gets closer to shore, it slows down, is what I did mention. But it is also causing an acceleration and erosion just by the nature of itself, which is what we had in 2007, 8, and 9. So.
But our hope is that as soon as it attaches, or where we can go to it and harvest,
right.
That's the best time to get any meaningful quantity of sand to do anything.
Yeah. Next, we heard a presentation. Brian Berrigan had put together John Schaffer of Ocean and Coastal Consultants and had asked Scott Meister of the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, who made a great presentation, and they spoke to Boating Infrastructure Grant Program that previously the city had sought to participate in for marina improvements, but decided not to because of the way the program was set up. Well, they've adjusted the program, and there's 2 tiers in this program, and at one time, if you got either of those, any income from the improvements from those grant monies had to go back to the program, and that is no longer the case. So these now become very attractive to us in considering the need for reconfiguring the marina docks, utilization of the marina, floating bathrooms, all sorts of marina projects that we're looking at. And so they made an awful lot of, they talked a lot about these. The soft costs, which would include the surveys, the permitting, engineering, design and bidding and construction, administration, transient floating dock, fixed dock, fuel system, utilities such as potable water and shore power, and floating restrooms, as I was mentioning, may all be fall into these grants. So where we are with that is we filed for them, didn't come through. We have they're going to be making presentations publicly throughout March, and we have till July to get Mr. Berrigan and Real Property together to identify some of the potential projects that we might acquire grants for. So it's very, very exciting. And even to the point where some of these monies, if we were awarded the grants, have some flexibility. We don't have to do the projects that day, that year. Some of them can be a year or two out as the engineering and the other monies, the matching funds, are accumulated. Old business, consideration of extended hours for the municipal parking lots. We decided not to extend those as we felt that residents in the Front Beach might not benefit from that. Review of the long-range capital plan and capital budget. Again, somewhat of a moving target. We had a great deal of discussion about these funds, the numbers, and again, those will come back around and be finalized. Status of the city property, the parking lot maintenance. We heard a report from Public Works about this, and a motion was made to move to approve the plans to resurface, restripe, replace parking stops, and gain ADA compliance here at City Hall.
We've got to decide how much we can buy, what looks the best to the judging body gets funded.
If I may, during that presentation and the DNR spokesman that was there, it sounds like we're kind of ahead a little bit everybody else in this progress. And Brian has been very proactive in going out and seeking these grants as well. And but if it does come to fruition, I think it's a great way to offset some of the costs that we already have budgeted. We already have planned on budgeting as in our replacement cycle.
Great find.
Yeah. I would like to reiterate that OCRM is holding a public hearing here March 12th at 6 p.m.
Exactly. The only other thing, when we do decide to go ahead with seeking grant funds, I imagine the application is rather extensive.
Yes. It'll probably take some city staff.
Yeah. It'll take a fair amount of resources to put it together. You can't just Xerox.
No.
Nice try. All right. You have reports from boards and commissions in your package. Any questions or concerns for them? None heard. We have no bills in our possession. No miscellaneous business to be brought up. Next meeting is Tuesday, March 26th, 7 p.m. We have no reason to go in executive session, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We are out of here. Thank you.
Sure. I just think you're doing a wonderful job up there.